Hi, it's Jill.
And Roxanne, and today we're making Mexican albondigas. This is one of my favorite recipes passed down from my family. I'm super excited to share it, and let's just go ahead and get started. I'll tell you what the ingredients are. You're gonna need 1 pound of ground beef, 1 egg. I went ahead and beat my egg. Where you're gonna need a couple cloves of garlic minced, about 6 to 8 mint leaves minced, half a cup of already cooked rice, white rice preferably, 1/2 a small onion, 2 hard-boiled eggs chopped, 1 large can, this is 28 ounces, of crushed tomatoes, and salt and pepper. So to get started, we're going to first go ahead and put some, one more thing. We're gonna need some olive oil. We've already put the olive oil into our Dutch oven over here. We've got it heating on low to medium. We're gonna go ahead and saute our garlic and onion in there. So, spoon. Yep, it's not as hot as I'd like it to be, but that's all right. I'm gonna put the garlic and the onion in there. That is for the sauce. We're gonna wait till that pan gets hot enough to sizzle it up. Just takes a second here. And we're gonna let that toast in the olive oil, okay? While that's warming up, we're right next to it so we can hear it. We're gonna go ahead and combine the ingredients for the meatballs. So you've got your pound of ground beef, an egg, the rice. You're gonna split the mint in between the meatballs and the sauce. So just save that, set that aside for now. And we're gonna season with salt and pepper. For 1 pound, I'm one of those non-measurers. So I'm gonna say per pound of ground beef, you're gonna want, and this is for sea salt, not for regular iodized table salt. You're gonna want a teaspoon. You could start with 3/4 teaspoon. You can't really taste the meatballs, but we can definitely taste the sauce. So we've got the onions and garlic, you can see them now. Stir them around, make sure the oil is distributed in there. We're just gonna let them sizzle, little saute, until the onions are transparent, but the garlic cooks faster than the onions, so don't let the garlic burn. All right, now for pepper, we're just gonna do a couple things from the pepper now. Okay, optional, if you like, you can always throw in a little bit of garlic and onion powder. It's kind of like insurance, okay? And I just mean a little bit. So you don't even need to have those on hand if you don't want. We've got all our ingredients in here that we need for the meatballs to start.
And for those of us who like to measure, Roxanne, would you say that's about 1/8 of a teaspoon?
Yes, 1/8 of a teaspoon of each. And for the salt, I would do a 1/2 teaspoon to 3/4 of a teaspoon per pound of ground beef, okay? So this is looking sizzly in here, and I don't want to forget about it and let that garlic burn. The onion has gotten transparent, taken on the color of the olive oil, so we're ready for our crushed tomatoes. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And we don't want to waste any of this crushed tomato goodness, so we're going to go ahead and swish a little water around in our pan to make sure we get it all.
Okay, let's see that. Yeah, just a
about
little bit.
1/2 cup, not a big deal. Most of this is going to evaporate off anyway, and we want to make sure we have enough liquid to cover our meatballs, because this is where we're going to be cooking them, right in the sauce, okay? It's a very simple sauce. So now we have our crushed tomato in here, we can add our salt to this. Again, I'm going to stick to the insurance plan of the 1/8 of a teaspoon or shake of garlic. Might even be a 1/16, guys. Okay, an onion. Okay, then we're going to do the salt. And for this, for 1 pound of ground beef and 28 ounce can, again, 3/4 of a teaspoon
Of sea salt.
of sea salt. Yes, if you're using table salt, it will end up too salty, okay, if you use that. So Just go ahead and stir it and turn it to its lowest setting. We're gonna let that simmer, but we want it to be hot. If it starts splattering on you, you're just gonna go ahead and throw your lid, partially covering it. Trap the heat, keep the splash in. So, we're just gonna go ahead and dig in here, okay? Did you see me put the salt in there, Jill?
I did.
Okay, excellent. So this is gonna get mixed. We're gonna form little meatballs and a little cavity in the middle of each meatball, into which we're going to put hard-boiled egg every time. Oh, one last thing, guys. You can throw your mint into your sauce now. That already smells amazing.
It does. It's
Really,
making me hungry.
you know, you would never think to put mint and tomato together. I don't know, I hadn't, but it's amazing. And if you don't have mint in a super pinch, you can use parsley, but it won't be the same. You can use parsley. Let's say you only have one mint leaf because it went bad and you have parsley, even dried parsley, you can substitute, but fresh mint is the best. So here we go. We're just gonna dig in with our fingers, and we wanna incorporate all the ingredients into the meat. And really, the rice can be a half a cup to 2/3 of a cup. For this demonstration, you might notice this looks like more than a pound. It actually is a little bit more than a pound. So I may be adding a little bit more rice, because to me, they need to almost look, I've seen an American version of this meatball called porcupine meatballs, and you want to be able to see the rice sticking out of the meatball almost. It needs to be fully incorporated and throughout all the meat. And this is looking a little skimpy, so I don't know if I could just reach over here, Joe.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. My rice is ready to go. I just steamed some jasmine rice. You can make Mexican white rice, or, you know, steamed rice works in a pinch. We love jasmine rice in this house, so it goes with everything. So fragrant and yummy, and the grain just holds together really nicely. So, all right, we've got this mixed. I feel confident that the salt and the pepper and the flavors are all in there. Okay. Let's see, I feel good about the amount of rice that's in there. That's about right. So you can see it's just throughout the meat. And now I'm going to make the meatballs. And so I'm gonna make them in between 1 3/4 and 2 inch size. Let me get a little water. Here's a trick, guys. If you put some water in a bowl and get your hands wet, the meat doesn't stick to your hands as bad, which is helpful. But before I start, I'm also gonna wanna take the lid off of my pot so that I could drop the meatballs in as I go. All right. One more thing, guys. Like I said, I'm making a little more than a pound, so I'm gonna supplement with a little more. Shh. But you stick to your 1 pan with your 1 pound, okay? So, getting my hands wet, grabbing a chunk of ground beef, and so like that.
It's a pretty big ball. Yes, 2 inch for sure.
And we could do that because on the inside, I'm just making a hole there. I'm not going all the way through the meatball. I'm just making a secret tunnel, and I'm going to shove egg in it. It's that simple. Shove some egg in there, as much as you can. But if you put too much, you won't be able to close it. And you want to be able to close it. Look, secret surprise meatball there. Can't even see it's in there. And then I'm going to drop it into my sauce. Once I get all my meatballs in there, I'm going to make sure all the meatballs are covered in sauce by gently rolling them with a wooden spoon or spatula and jiggling the pan. Either one works.
And how long do you cook these for?
About 30 minutes simmering. You can put the lid on it to speed it up. You know, you can measure the temperature of the sauce and poke a meatball with a meat thermometer, but they cook surprisingly fast because even though this is a large meatball, the heat doesn't have to go all the way through to the center because we have, already cooked egg in the center of it. So, and honestly, I was a little skimpy. The rice I wouldn't do any less rice than a half a cup for a pound. It might even be, in my original recipe, I think I had 2/3 cup down. That might be what I would lean towards still. And if that starts bubbling, we might want to turn it down.
Okay.
It's low, but we're just going to try to work fast here. Get our egg in there. And if some of the egg ends up in the sauce, it's fine. It tastes so yummy. And these are even amazing warmed up the next day as leftovers. So if you can make multiple batches, they're so good. And like I said, we usually serve it with rice and a salad or some kind of a broccoli, a green. The kids love them. Yep, there it goes.
Yeah.
And then we might want to turn it down a little bit. That's what we want it to do, but we got to get this all in there first. And it's okay that you don't get them all in there at the exact same time. If you're really, really worried about it, you can just make all your meatballs on a plate and then put them in. But I've never done that. It's never been necessary, and this is how I do it. This is how my grandma did it. This is how my mom did it. And now my daughter's doing it too, so she loves them. She moved far away to Arizona and called me to get this recipe. All right. So like I said, it's okay. You don't have to be perfectionist. If the meatball goes wonky and the egg is showing, it's all right. It'll still hold together. Just don't freak out. Not worth freaking out over meatballs.
Definitely not.
No way. Okay. See, I'm trying to use up all this egg. You really could just smash it in there and then just rebuild the meatball. It's not the neatest process, but it gets the job done. So that one's a little big. Yeah, so surprisingly, because the meatballs are so big, it just goes fast. And, you know, my kids are always like, oh, can I have another meatball? And I'm like, I mean, you know, if I'm going to give you like a 1/4 pound, you've already eaten that in meatballs. So sometimes I go back and count the number of meatballs so I know portion-wise how much to give each kid. Because I have big eaters and they'll just want to keep eating because it tastes good, which is great, but to a point, right?
So how many
so far,
per serving would you say?
Well, my kids are pretty much almost adult size, so I don't mind giving them 3. If I make them a burger, I'll even let them have a 4-ounce burger. So for a child, 1 to 2 ounces. I mean, you can go by the rule of thumb of the size of their palm of their hand is really like what a meat serving should be, a protein serving on their plate. So going by that, 2 to 3 ounces would probably be okay for my younger son, and definitely 3 to 4 for my older son and my husband. So once we're done here, we started with 21 ounces of ground beef. I'll count how many meatballs I made, and then I know roughly how many ounces of meat are in each one, and I can gauge. And you can always split one of these in half too, because they're big. Okay, so it looks like we've got 3 left. So if I count, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4,
11.
5, 6, 7, 8, 11. Okay, so 11 into 21. So they're about 2 ounces each, and that's great because that means I can give each kid 2, and then they're gonna be like, "What? That's it?" And I'm gonna have to explain. That's actually, you know, that's the right amount of meat for you, kid. And it's kind of like sliders. I made sliders the other day. We'll have to do that.
We will.
And it was, you know, you almost feel skimpy just giving a grown man 2 little sandwiches. But I sent a goodie bag home for my brother with 2 little sandwiches, and I thought, I wonder if he thinks, why are they so small? But it's a 1/4 pound burger. So I don't know what size burger you eat, unless I'm going to some, even if I go to some restaurant and they have pound burgers, I don't eat a whole pound of meat just because they put it in the burger. So I stick to portions. All right, so now we're at the end, and we've got a little bit of leftover egg, it looks like. We've got 1 more meatball, and there's no way all that egg is going in that meatball. But what I do, and this is not authentic Mexican, so don't, take it easy on me in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and throw the rest of that egg in the sauce because the yolk has a way of making the sauce creamy. It doesn't affect the flavor at all. It's just kind of amazing. That's going to happen a little bit on its own, just from the egg, the sauce seeping into the middle of each meatball. So you'll notice it a little. This might be a lot actually because I had a weird amount. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it in there. It's all good. Yep. You don't have to do that. If you're keeping it perfect for presentation, you do you. Okay. So now I'm going to wash my hands real quick, and we're going to get those meatballs to sit as much under the sauce as we possibly can. And we're going to crank it back up, which is going to make it want to start splattering. So that means we're going to be using the lid. Yeah, kind of hard to wash. Okay. So I'm going to turn this off. Grab something so I don't burn myself. Just kind of jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. That's the easiest way to do it without breaking up the meatballs. Cover it, make sure it's over the flame, and turn it up a little. So it's 107, and about, I can hear outside of the pot when this starts to bubble in there. I'm going to turn it down to a simmer once it gets to a boil. Once that'll be about I would say 5 minutes because it's already hot. Then 15, 20 more minutes and the meatballs will be done after simmering that long. So you can check it with a meat thermometer to be sure, but you're gonna be in for a real treat. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. Let us know in the comments how it worked out for you, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.